At one time, my brother was gonna get 8 years. He had already did 4. You do sign off on.
That was Master P revealing something shocking about his brother C murder. He said his brother could have been home years ago if he had accepted an 8-year plea deal and listened to the people who truly cared about him instead of the voices around him inside jail. According to Master P, that decision changed everything for the family. C murder refused the deal, chose to fight the case in court, and the outcome was devastating.
One time, my brother was gonna get 8 years. He had already did 4. You do sign off on.
The trial ended with a life sentence without parole. Now, years later, Master P says the same people around him in prison have turned against him. And the harsh reality? There is no one there to step in and protect him. Master P explained how the case reached that moment and the emotional and financial toll it has placed on the entire family over the years. Sometimes, the hardest truth is simple. You have to listen to the people who genuinely love you. Then, in early March 2026, Master P sat down for an interview that caught a lot of people off guard. Not just because he spoke, but because of what he revealed. For more than 20 years, the public story around the C murder case stayed inside the same talking points. He is innocent, witnesses were unreliable, and the justice system failed him. Fans heard those claims in rallies, interviews, court documents, and across social media. But this time, Master P added a detail the public had never heard before. He said his brother was offered an 8-year deal, and he turned it down.
You gotta listen to the people that love you.
Right.
You know, instead of listening to the jailhouse, people come and go, women come and go out your life, all this stuff, man.
The moment spread fast online. A clip posted by My Mixtapes on X exploded across Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and other platforms. People everywhere started debating what really happened behind the scenes. The deal Master P talked about reportedly came around 4 years into C murder's incarceration, sometime around 2006. This was during the tense period between his first conviction being overturned and the retrial. By that time, Corey Miller had already spent about 4 years behind bars. The offer on the table was simple, at least on paper. Serve 4 more years, and then he could walk free. 4 years already done, 4 more to go. Sign the agreement and possibly be home by 2010, maybe even sooner with time credits. That was the math. That was the opportunity sitting right there in front of him.
Time go, you're gonna find out who real or not. Your family gonna be there no matter what.
But C murder refused the deal. He stood firm on his claim of innocence and would not sign anything that suggested he did the crime. Instead, he chose to take the risk and go back to trial. Then Master P said the line that quickly became the headline everywhere: jailhouse people. That phrase hit hard because Master P was not talking about random strangers. He was talking about a certain type of influence that surrounds someone while they are locked up. The people who move in and out of a person's circle behind those walls, offering advice, making promises, and slowly gaining influence inside the prison environment.
On these streets,
Right.
even though my brother innocent,
Yeah,
think about it. But you prolonged this so long.
Meanwhile, the family on the outside was still working non-stop, pushing legal efforts and trying to fight for him. Master P kept breaking it down until he reached the painful reality of the situation. Then he made the real tragedy of the case crystal clear. Even with everything he revealed, he still did not take back the claim that his brother is innocent. Master P kept both points in the same breath, and that is what made the moment so powerful. He still said clearly, "My brother is innocent." But right after that, he admitted something else that people could not ignore. He said his brother also prolonged the situation. Both things were true at the same time in his eyes.
Oh, even though my brother innocent, think about it. But you prolonged this so long. And so I just think if he'd have took the deal early, we wouldn't be dead.
For Master P, the issue was never about whether C murder pulled the trigger. The deeper issue was the decision that came next. The decision to go back into court and gamble everything on a jury in Jefferson Parish. That parish has a reputation for being one of the toughest places in Louisiana when it comes to criminal trials. Instead of accepting a guaranteed 8-year deal and eventually coming home, he chose to risk it all in front of that jury. Then Master P delivered the line that summed up this entire 24-year situation in one brutal sentence. If he would have taken the deal, we would not be dealing with this. That one statement changed how many people looked at the entire story. Because think about what followed after that choice. More than 2 decades inside Angola prison, hunger strikes, endless legal filings, appeals reaching higher courts, rejections from judges again and again. A family stretched across 20 years of stress, courtrooms, visiting rooms, legal bills, social media campaigns, and public disagreements.
So you gotta want to do right.
Right. Are you trying to keep him in the right mindset?
Yeah, I mean, that's my family.
All of it piling up year after year. According to Master P's explanation, none of that might have happened if the deal had been signed back in 2006. Corey Miller could have potentially walked out as a free man by around 2010. He could have been back with his daughters, back with his family, and living life outside those prison walls. But he refused the agreement, and the retrial moved forward anyway. When the retrial ended, the jury voted 10-2. The judge then handed down the sentence, life without parole. That decision came on October 22, 2009, and it changed everything moving forward. From that day on, every legal path seemed to hit the same wall. Appeal after appeal, petition after petition, and the answer kept coming back the same way. No, the Louisiana Appellate Court rejected the case in 2011. The Louisiana Supreme Court said no in 2012. The United States Supreme Court declined to step in 2013. Years later, in 2023, a federal district judge again rejected the challenge.
You get into a jam, especially if you're a celebrity, like you're gonna get made an example of, like you got to know.
Then on February 4th, 2026, the Louisiana Supreme Court closed the final state-level door with a unanimous decision from all 7 justices. The fight that lasted decades had run into its hardest stop yet. The court made it clear in its ruling. Judges said Corey Miller had already used up his right to state collateral review and failed to show any legal exception that would allow another filing. In simple terms, every state-level option was now gone. That door had officially closed. Miller responded publicly and made it clear he was not ready to give up. He said the fight was not over and promised he would keep pushing forward. But just days after that major denial, Master P sat down for the interview and revealed something the public had never heard before, the 8-year plea deal that was once on the table.
Grandmother, she's not here right now. She's my angel. I know that.
The timing of that revelation was not random at all. Master P was reacting to the latest court decision, the finality of it, and the reality of watching his brother take yet another legal hit after more than 20 years of fighting. And what came out during that interview was something he had reportedly kept inside for nearly 2 decades. In his view, there was one decision that set this entire chain of events into motion. Not the night at the Platinum Club, not the witnesses, not even the jury. According to Master P, the real turning point happened back in 2006. That was the moment when a man who believed he was innocent chose to risk everything and trust the legal system to clear his name. Instead of taking a guaranteed path home, he decided to fight the case in court. Master P has spoken openly about the weight of that decision and how difficult it can be to watch someone you love refuse a chance to come home. His perspective carries a different kind of clarity, especially coming from someone who spent years trying to guide his brother from the outside.
She should be his angel. I've never heard him talk about her like that. But I know Kim Kardashian put out one tweet and she is angel, which is crazy.
And through all of the arguments, court rulings, and public debates, one thing has never changed. C. Murder is still his brother, still his family, and the deal that was never taken remains the deal that was never taken. All the years that passed after 2006 carry a heavy weight. Every single one of them reflects the price of that one decision, a price paid in time that can never be refunded. To understand why turning down an 8-year deal eventually led to a life without parole sentence, you have to look closely at what C. Murder was stepping back into when he chose to go to trial. The system waiting for him was already in motion. The story traces back to January 12, 2002, inside the Platinum Club in Harvey, Louisiana. That night turned chaotic fast. A 16-year-old fan named Steve Thomas was caught in the middle of a massive fight involving around 15 to 20 people. During the chaos, he was beaten and then fatally shot once in the chest. The club reportedly skipped metal detector checks for VIP guests and celebrities that evening, which added even more questions to the situation later on.
I know he's incarcerated, and I get that, but still, you have to have a heart for the people that really helped you.
In the middle of that confusion, two eyewitnesses stepped forward, a security guard named Darnell Jordan and another witness, Kenneth Jordan. Both identified Corey Miller as the shooter. Their testimony became a central part of the case, but the investigation also raised serious questions. No firearm connected to the shooting was ever recovered. There was no DNA evidence tying Miller directly to a weapon either. Still, within days, he was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. The first trial in 2003 ended with a conviction, but the story did not stop there. The conviction was overturned the following year after it was revealed that prosecutors had failed to share criminal background information on 3 key witnesses with the defense. That major issue forced the case back into the legal system again. That moment opened a window for the plea deal that Master P later talked about. In 2006, Miller was released on bond and placed under house arrest. During that period, he continued recording music and publicly maintained his innocence. Then the deal appeared on the table, 8 years, but he refused it.
I don't do that no more for ungrateful people. So all y'all bloggers or whatever, y'all can understand one thing. The ATM, I'm pulling the plug on.
The retrial finally arrived in August 2009. The same 2 witnesses returned to the stand and repeated their testimony. The jury spent more than 13 hours deliberating across 2 tense days. Reports later described confusion and heated moments inside the jury room as the case reached its final turning point. Inside the jury deliberation room, the pressure was intense. At one point, one juror reportedly became so overwhelmed with stress that they vomited. The situation inside that room was chaotic. An early verdict was even rejected by the judge because it was considered invalid. Eventually, the jury returned with a final vote, 10-2. Guilty, but the tension did not end there. One juror later claimed she had been heavily pressured during deliberations to change her vote from not guilty.
Never wrote a book about them turning on you. I mean, how is that real? How is that true? Because that's your word, true.
According to her account, the atmosphere inside the room was extremely heated as jurors pushed each other to reach a decision. On October 22, 2009, Judge Hans Liljeberg sentenced Corey Miller to mandatory life imprisonment without parole. That sentence officially locked in the outcome of the retrial. Later, Boosie Badass, who had spent time incarcerated with C. Murder and said he reviewed parts of the case materials, shared his own view of what may have influenced the conviction. He pointed to a detail that often gets overlooked when people retell the story. He brought up the Baton Rouge incident. That reference goes back to a separate event in 1991 at Club Rags in Baton Rouge. During that situation, Miller fired a weapon into the air after reportedly being denied entry into the club. No one was killed in that incident, but it still became part of the narrative surrounding him.
With my brother, man, my brother been going through it. My brother been going through it, and I'm praying for him, and I feel like now everything that didn't happen.
According to reports discussed around the case, jurors deciding the Harvey nightclub shooting was shown footage connected to that earlier Baton Rouge event. That meant the jury did not just walk into the courtroom hearing a name. They also saw video of Corey Miller holding a firearm during a completely different situation. For some observers, that detail mattered a lot. The jury already knew the stage name C. Murder, a name that had built a powerful image in music and media. When that name entered the courtroom, it carried a reputation with it. Boosie addressed this point directly when discussing the case. He argued that the name itself created a strong impression before the trial even unfolded. Combine that with footage from another club incident, and some believe it shaped how jurors viewed the situation from the start. In that sense, the courtroom battle was not only about the evidence from that one night, but also about the image and reputation surrounding the man standing trial. Jefferson Parish, the place where the trial happened, has long carried a reputation for being extremely tough when it comes to criminal cases. Even Master P himself described it as one of the hardest parishes in the entire state of Louisiana. Boosie Badass also spoke about the broader climate in Louisiana, explaining that the environment surrounding cases like this goes far beyond just one trial. The legal structure behind C. Murder's conviction gave those concerns real weight. When the verdict came down in 2009, it was not unanimous. The jury vote was 10-2. At that time, Louisiana was one of only 2 states in the entire country that allowed non-unanimous jury verdicts in non-capital felony cases. That rule had a long and controversial history. Legal scholars have traced it back to post-Reconstruction Louisiana, when the system was designed in ways that could reduce the influence of black jurors during trials. Then years later, the law finally changed. In 2020, the United States Supreme Court ruled in Ramos versus Louisiana that non-unanimous jury verdicts were unconstitutional. The decision forced states to change the rule moving forward, but there was a major catch. The ruling was not applied retroactively to older cases. That meant people already convicted under the old system did not automatically receive new trials. C. Murder's conviction remained in place. The constitutional change arrived. It just arrived too late to affect his case. Master P has spoken openly about those historical roots while discussing his brother's situation, pointing to the Jim Crow era origins of the rule that allowed the 10-2 verdict in the first place. Meanwhile, the post-conviction battle kept getting more intense. In 2018, both key witnesses, Kenneth Jordan and Darnell Jordan, signed sworn affidavits recanting their earlier testimony. They claimed investigators had pressured them and threatened unrelated criminal charges if they did not identify Miller as the shooter. Those statements quickly caught national attention. The recantations were even featured on the investigation discovery series Reasonable Doubt. Hip-hop fans and social media exploded with reactions, with many people believing this might finally reopen the case. But the breakthrough many expected never came. In January 2019, a state court ruled that the recantations were unreliable. The judge pointed out that both witnesses had identified Miller multiple times long before the trial ever happened. Because of that, the court rejected the new claims and kept the conviction in place. No new trial was granted. The case kept running into the same wall. In November 2023, U.S. District Judge Sarah S. Vance upheld the conviction at the federal level, ruling that Miller had not shown clear and convincing evidence that a legal error changed the outcome of the trial. Then, another major moment arrived in February 2026. The Louisiana Supreme Court unanimously rejected the latest effort to reopen the case. With that decision, the final state-level door officially closed.
To get him to where he need to go, because that's what I did. When I wasn't all the way right, I started asking God, like, man, show me something. You know, I don't want to die out here.
While the legal battle continued in the courts, another struggle was happening behind prison walls. C. Murder's health and physical condition became a growing concern over the years. In 2018, he launched a hunger strike at Angola prison, protesting conditions he described as cruel and unusual. Then it happened again in 2021. While housed at Elaine Hunt Correctional Center, he started another hunger strike, this time accusing the Department of Corrections of medical neglect. The situation gained national attention. Civil rights attorneys Benjamin Crump and Ronald Haley Jr. stepped in and demanded answers from officials. Boosie Badass, who has also experienced the prison system himself, explained why someone in that position might take such a drastic step. In his view, when every legal door seems locked, a hunger strike becomes one of the few ways left to force attention on what is happening inside those walls. All of this forms the full picture of what C. Murder has been living through for years. A conviction built largely on eyewitness testimony that was later recanted, a 10-2 jury rule that has since been declared unconstitutional, a trial held in a parish known for aggressive prosecution, a stage name that prosecutors were able to highlight in front of jurors. Then came the long aftermath, hunger strikes, denied appeals, and federal rulings that repeated the same conclusion again and again. Every court seemed to say the same word, no. And in the middle of all of it sits the decision from 2006, the plea deal that could have bypassed much of this legal maze, the offer that was refused. For the family at the center of the story, that revelation did not land in a quiet moment. It landed on top of more than 20 years of stress, public debate, legal battles, and a situation that has pulled everyone involved in different directions. None of them chose this situation, and none of them ever had full control over how it unfolded. To understand why Master P spoke the way he did in March 2026, you have to look closely at what the 20 years between 2006 and 2026 actually looked like for the Miller family, what they sacrificed, what they lost, and what they are still waiting for today. Corey Miller and Percy Miller grew up together in the Caliot projects in New Orleans' 3rd Ward. Life there was tough from the beginning. Their father left early, and the family was largely raised by their grandmother, known as Big Mama. Around them were their siblings, including Silk the Shocker, a sister named Jermaine, and another brother named Kevin. Then tragedy struck early in their lives. Kevin was murdered in the early 1990s. That loss left a deep mark on the family. It was the kind of pain families in those environments often carry quietly, because speaking about it does not bring the person back. Master P responded to that pain by building something bigger. After receiving $10,000 from a malpractice settlement involving his grandfather, he used the money to open a small record store in California. That store eventually grew into what the world would know as No Limit Records. By 1991, he had brought Corey into the business, along with other artists from their circle. What started small quickly turned into a massive movement. The Millers built a real empire from the ground up. By the late 1990s, No Limit Records had become one of the most powerful forces in hip-hop. C Murder was a major part of that success. His album sold in the millions, and his 1998 project, Life or Death, debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200. For the Miller family, it felt like they had finally escaped the hardships of the Caliot projects. They had survived everything the 3rd Ward threw at them and built something real on the other side. Then January 2002 happened. The events of that night started a chain reaction that slowly pulled the family apart over time. Court cases, media attention, public pressure, and years of legal battles created tension that stretched across decades.
That's prosecutors, and that's what we waiting for that to happen, because he deserved to be out here with, with it.
In the early years after the arrest, Master P stood firmly by his brother. His public stance was clear and unwavering. He advocated strongly for C Murder and pushed the message that his brother had been wrongfully convicted. In 2018, Master P took the fight directly to the public. He organized a rally at Xavier University in New Orleans, standing on stage in front of a large crowd while demanding his brother's release. From that platform, he laid out the argument for Corey Miller's innocence. He talked about the witnesses who later recanted their statements. He pointed toward what he believed were major failures in the justice system, and he framed the entire situation as something bigger than just one case: a justice issue, a race issue, and a Louisiana issue. Through all of that, Master P continued supporting his brother behind the scenes as well. Legal fees kept piling up. Prison visits continued. Financial help for C Murder's children remained part of the responsibility the family carried. For years, the Miller family, and especially Master P, held a huge part of the weight when it came to keeping the legal fight alive. Then 2020 arrived, and something shifted. That year, Kim Kardashian and singer Monica publicly announced they were working to help free C Murder. Their involvement immediately brought massive attention to the case. Headlines exploded, and millions of people who had never followed the situation before suddenly started talking about it. From inside Angola prison, Miller responded with strong gratitude. He publicly called them his angels and his ride or dies. Master P saw that moment unfold, and it stirred up emotions he did not hide. Soon after, he went on Instagram and posted a video that felt raw and emotional. There was no polished message. It looked like pure frustration and pain coming out in real time. In that video, he started by talking about their grandmother, my grandmother. He began explaining how Big Mama, the woman who raised both of them, had spent years visiting Corey in prison. She went through the searches at the entrance, the long waits, and the uncomfortable process families face when entering a prison facility. She sat through those visits with glass separating her from her grandson again and again. According to Master P, despite all those years of showing up, she never received the same level of public appreciation that came when celebrities stepped into the conversation. Even while expressing that frustration, Master P made something clear. He still said his brother was innocent. He still said he wanted him home, but what he struggled with was the imbalance, the feeling that people who had only recently joined the fight were suddenly receiving more recognition than the family members who had been standing there from the very beginning. That moment revealed something deeper that had been building inside the Miller family for years. The outside world mostly saw a united front, celebrities speaking out, rallies being organized, legal filings moving through the courts. But behind the scenes, the emotional weight of a 20-year fight was starting to show cracks. For Master P, the issue was never about rejecting help. He understood the power of attention and influence. When high-profile voices like Kim Kardashian stepped in, the case suddenly reached millions of people who had never heard Corey Miller's name before. That kind of spotlight can move conversations in ways that normal legal arguments cannot. But what Master P struggled with was recognition for the people who had been carrying this fight long before the cameras arrived. For years, family members had been the ones driving to prisons, sitting in visiting rooms, and helping cover legal expenses that never seemed to end. They were the ones making phone calls to lawyers, organizing support behind the scenes, and trying to keep hope alive, even when court after court kept saying no.
Like that's, I don't see how he that strong, he's still strong,
When the celebrity attention exploded in 2020, the story of the case suddenly shifted in the public eye. The narrative became about powerful outsiders stepping in to help change the outcome. Inside the Miller family, that shift created tension, not because the help was unwelcome, but because it felt like the long history of sacrifice was suddenly invisible. Decades of loyalty were being overshadowed by a moment of viral attention. Master P's Instagram video showed that frustration in real time. He was not speaking like a businessman or a music mogul in that moment. He was speaking like a brother who had spent 20 years watching someone he loved sit inside a prison cell. And that tension never fully disappeared. The fight to free C. Murder continued in courtrooms and headlines, but the emotional toll on the family kept growing. Every denied appeal, every rejected motion, every year that passed added another layer of pressure. By the time Master P sat down for that interview in March 2026, all of those years were sitting behind his words. The rallies, the court losses, the celebrity involvement, the family disagreements, all of it. And that is why the revelation about the 8-year deal landed so heavily, because it was not just a legal detail. It was a reminder that somewhere back in 2006, there had been a different path, one decision that might have changed everything for the Miller family. Then came the announcement that sent shockwaves across social media. Master P revealed that he was stepping back. No more financial support and no more prison visits for the time being. The statement spread fast online, and people immediately started reacting. He explained the reality of what those prison visits actually cost the family: the long drives, the strict searches at the entrance, the emotional weight of sitting across from someone you love with a sheet of glass separating you. The process alone can drain a family physically and mentally. After years of that routine, he said he had reached a breaking point. Many people on the internet quickly interpreted the message as abandonment, but that reading left out a lot of important context. Master P never said his brother was guilty. He never reversed his stance on the conviction. From the beginning, he kept saying the same thing. He believed his brother should not be in prison. What he was speaking about was something different. He was talking about gratitude and accountability toward the family members who had carried this burden for decades. The grandmother, the parents, the siblings, the aunts and uncles who had been quietly absorbing the emotional and financial cost of this long fight. At one point, he even addressed C. Murder directly through the camera. In that moment, he pointed toward the people he believed had actually created the situation. He was talking about the individuals who were present during the chaos the night Steve Thomas was shot. According to Master P's frustration, some of those people had disappeared from the spotlight completely. They were living their lives freely, while Corey remained inside Angola prison. His argument was not that C. Murder deserved to be there. Far from it. His frustration came from the belief that his brother had stayed silent about certain people involved that night, while the Miller family carried the public pressure, the headlines, and years of personal sacrifice. And underneath all of it, the rallies, the social media videos, the public disagreements, and the moments when support was pulled back, one fact kept sitting in the background: the plea deal from 2006, the door that once existed but was never taken. Even through the tension, Master P never stopped praying for his brother. He never stopped saying he wanted him to come home.
The family conflict that exploded in 2020 did not stay frozen forever. By 2025 and 2026, Master P was once again speaking publicly about the case and pushing the conversation forward. The love between brothers never disappeared. For a time, the frustration was loud, but eventually it settled into something deeper, something that sounded more like grief than anger. And when Master P talks about his brother today, everything he says is shaped by his own journey. From growing up in the Calliope projects, to building No Limit Records, to creating a life far beyond where they started. That transformation is always sitting in the background of every word he speaks about Corey Miller. By the time Master P spoke again in 2026, the conversation around C. Murder had already stretched across nearly a quarter of a century. Entire generations of hip-hop fans had grown up hearing about the case, arguing about it online, and trying to piece together what really happened that night in Harvey, Louisiana. For the Miller family, though, this was never just a public debate. It was daily life. Every year meant more court filings, more legal consultations, and more waiting for decisions that almost always came back the same way. Families living through long prison cases often describe time differently. Birthdays are missed, children grow up, parents get older. Life outside keeps moving forward, while the person inside stays frozen in the same place. Corey Miller watched that happen from behind prison walls. His daughters grew up during the years he spent fighting appeals. Friends and relatives built entire lives while he remained locked inside the same system that had sentenced him back in 2009. For Master P, those years created a complicated mix of emotions. There was loyalty, because that was his brother. There was faith, because he believed the conviction was wrong. But there was also the heavy reality of time, the sense that decades had slipped by while the legal system moved at a slow and unforgiving pace. That is part of why the 8-year plea deal still echoes so loudly today. Not because it proves guilt or innocence, but because it represents a moment when the entire path of this story might have turned in a completely different direction. If that deal had been accepted in 2006, the timeline would look completely different. Instead of decades inside Angola, Corey Miller might have walked out around 2010 and rebuilt his life on the outside. The Miller family might have been dealing with healing instead of courtrooms. But history does not move backward. The trial happened, the conviction stood, appeals were denied, and year after year, the case kept becoming more complicated as new arguments, documentaries, and public campaigns entered the conversation. Even today, people remain divided about what justice would look like in this situation. Some believe the courts already made their final decision. Others believe the system failed and that the case still deserves another look. What cannot be argued is the impact this case has had. It reshaped the Miller family, sparked national conversations about jury laws in Louisiana, and turned one courtroom decision into a story that still refuses to fade away. And at the center of it all is one question that has followed the case for more than 2 decades: whether the legal fight will ever produce a different ending for Corey Miller.
Master P believes something important changed in his own life along the way. He has said many times that at a certain point, he made a decision to move differently, to shift his mindset and surrender certain battles in order to build a bigger future. In his eyes, that decision opened doors that might never have opened otherwise. And when he talks about his brother, he often circles back to that same idea, not surrendering to the state, but surrendering to something bigger than the fight itself, letting go of pride, letting go of the need to prove a point, and choosing the chance to live life outside those prison walls. In Master P's view, the 8-year plea deal offered back in 2006 represented a moment like that, a moment where the principle of fighting the case could have been set aside in exchange for freedom. But C. Murder refused it. He chose to fight the charges instead, and that fight against this legal system in this state has now stretched for more than 2 decades. Even with everything that has happened, Master P still says the same thing today. He believes his brother should be home with his family. As of March 2026, Corey Miller is 54 years old. He remains incarcerated at Louisiana State Penitentiary, better known as Angola, serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The legal battle is not completely finished. His case is currently before the United States Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals following the federal denial in 2023. At the same time, a state petition for factual innocence under Louisiana's 2021 law is still pending. The case continues to raise difficult questions. The witnesses who originally testified against him later recanted their statements. The jury rule used in the 10-2 conviction has since been ruled unconstitutional. Yet every court that has reviewed the case so far, both state and federal, has reached the same decision: no. Boosie once said the only real way this situation ends is if the system finally decides to close the door differently. Until then, the story remains unfinished. Master P said his brother could have been home by now. He said it openly on camera for the entire world to hear. And the painful part is that C. Murder is still inside Angola, still maintaining that he did not commit the crime, and still holding on to hope after all these years. And that reality might be the hardest part of this entire story. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who wants to understand the full story. And drop a comment below letting me know what you think about this case and everything that has happened over the years.